Arizona has been called,
and
so Biden has won Arizona. The whole primary is over. So they ran Bernie Sanders out of town. The mainstream media called him unelectable 1,000 times. And after Biden won South Carolina and all the establishment Democrats united, and we didn't, it was huge. Once Biden won Super Tuesday, it was still really close because Bernie Sanders won California, Colorado, and many other states, and he had won the biggest state in the union. But the media said it was over, and everybody believed it. And Bernie Sanders went from having a lead in Illinois to losing huge in Illinois because everybody thought the race was already over. So in Arizona, he most likely would have won if things were held normal. He's very strong in the western states. He's very strong with Latinos in those states. But since the media said it was already over, it was over. It became a self-fulfilling prophecy. So a state that he was favored to win just a couple of weeks ago, it looks like he lost by about 12. So there's no hope. He will continue to lose the rest of the states because the media already is tripling down, quadrupling down. So we talked about how this 2020 was endgame for progressives, and it was, except we lost. So that's the reality of what happened tonight. We were this close going into Super Tuesday. Right before South Carolina, Bernie had won the first 3 states, had a crushing victory in Nevada, was definitely the front runner. Even Nate Silver was saying he had an overwhelming lead. And then, like I said, the establishment united and the mainstream media piled on in an unprecedented fashion.
So,
look, there's also plenty of blame to go around for us. So Bernie Sanders is in a lot of ways, an absolutely terrific candidate. He put himself in the ballgame when no one thought he had a chance. He closed a 60-point lead against Hillary Clinton in Arizona, not in Arizona, in 2016 overall in the country. But he just couldn't put it over the top. This time around, it looked like he was the front runner, but couldn't put it over the top. So what did we do wrong? Well, either we should have gone one of 2 routes. One is to be much, much harsher on the mainstream candidates. And Bernie, this is part of what people liked about him. He's a very likable guy, honest guy, decent guy, and that was part of his brand. But he really is those things. So he just couldn't bring himself to attack his friend Joe Biden. He kind of barely did it halfway in the last debate, but it was too little too late. He should have pointed out all along the bankruptcy bill, the crime bill, and the cutting Social Security, the lying about civil rights. Why didn't he ever bring up lying about civil rights? Joe Biden lied about it 31 times. So that was one possible path, scorched earth. And maybe it would have worked, or maybe the mainstream media would have yelled at Bernie Sanders and the progressives even more, and set us back more. Who knows? Yes. I mean, it's so hard to overcome the wall of propaganda that is mainstream media. The other way to go would have been if Bernie had been conciliatory for the last 4 years. I don't mean in policy. Hell no. No, we stick to our guns on policy. But if he'd courted Jim Clyburn, could it have been any different? If he had found a way to make moderate voters more comfortable with him. And again, not by bending on policy, not by changing his principles, but the way he talked about it. I don't know, and it's all second guessing now. But the fact is, older voters came out to vote more than younger voters. Bernie Sanders won younger voters under the age of 45 by about 70. He got 70 points there over Biden, 70 to 30. But Biden won people above the age of 45, 70 to 30. And the people above 45 vote much more. So we lost, and the mainstream and the establishment won one more time. So it looks like the general election is going to be Joe Biden versus Donald Trump. One of the most depressing elections you will ever see in your lifetime.
Well, we just saw 2016, but so Cenk, you're analyzing the media and their effect on this race and how it's effect on many other things. And we hear fake media a million times from the liar in the White House. So maybe tough question time. what do you say? I mean, from your perspective, from your point of view, Cenk Uygur, from people who are listening right now, who total Bernie supporters, and maybe somewhere in the middle and didn't understand what was, which way they would go with it, and they make a late decision on it. To people who hear us talk about how the media affected this race, but the reason why the media can affect races to this degree is because it's not something that's highlighted or seen by so many people. You have to listen to someone point out how the media is doing these things that maybe affect people's thought processes or beliefs in who someone else really is. So when people may hear you say, yes, Bernie lost, and look what the media did to him. A lot of people turn off, not necessarily their screen, but their brain turns off and they go, look at this, complaints about the media. How about you focus on something else? And Joe Biden just happened to be a better candidate. What do you say to those people?
Yeah, so we have facts. So if it was just a matter of opinion, I could understand them getting frustrated by quote unquote complaining about the media, right? But we're the exact opposite of Trump. Trump complains that the media tells the truth about him. We complain that the media lies about us. And so, and if you can't seek that kind of justice, and you just called seeking justice complaining, well, then by that definition, you'd never try to get justice. So, okay, what do I mean? I can give you 1,000 examples, but we'll go to some of the ones that you've heard if you've watched the Young Turks. Joe Biden did, in fact, offer to cut Social Security 6 different times. And the mainstream media made it seem like Bernie Sanders' campaign, well, the one time that they mentioned it, was misleading. But it's not misleading. We showed you the tape. So who's right, who's wrong? How can you tell? You can watch the tape. You could just shut off my volume. The establishment would be thrilled with that. Shut off their volume and just look at the tape. You can see with your own eyes. Biden says that he wants to cut Social Security, and he offered to do it once, twice, 3 times, 4 times, he says on tape. On the civil rights movement, he said that he was at this church when he wasn't. All 31 of the lies is provable. It's not in dispute. He said that he got arrested in South Africa trying to protest apartheid and trying to meet with Nelson Mandela. It's just not true. He was never arrested in South Africa. We're right, they're wrong. So did the New York Times cover that story? Yes, they covered it once and then let it go. Did anybody on cable news talk about it? Almost never. And so did they call him a liar over and over? No, they didn't. If Bernie Sanders had said that lie, everyone, including the mainstream media, knows with every fiber of their being that they would have said that Bernie Sanders was disqualified to lie about something so outrageous and over the top. But I've got 1,000 more examples where that came from. So Donald Trump says outrageous things like wind causes cancer. And if the media says that wind doesn't cause cancer, he calls them fake news. We say that Joe Biden did, in fact, say the things that he's quoted on tape saying, and the media says, no, don't believe your lying eyes, don't believe the Young Turks, we're right and they're wrong. Okay, I mean, they turn truth on their head. So the only thing you could do, and this is why the internet has some downsides, but it has a wonderful side. You could just look it up. And a lot of times there'll be one story about it, and they'll go, oh, by the way, Joe Biden did lie about that, and that, and that, and that, and that. And then they drop it, but they never call him a liar. They then turn around in every other article, there's 100 articles that then say he's the most electable, and he's wonderful, and he's stable, and he's gonna win, and Bernie Sanders can't win, even though, and they'll say things outrageous as, in order to win, you gotta win over independents. That's why we can't pick Bernie Sanders, because he doesn't call himself a Democrat, he calls himself an independent. And they say that with a straight face. They do. So they do lie about it. They do manufacture consent. And I'm sorry if it hurts their feelings. And I'm sorry if it hurts the feelings of voters who then look at it and go, Cenk, are you saying I was manipulated? I got to be honest with you. Yeah, you were.
When are we going to be ruthless? And what I mean by that is, yeah, I think your criticisms of Bernie Sanders, as much as it hurts to admit it, you're right. He is too much of a nice guy, and he, went with this "Joe is my friend" rhetoric throughout the election, when in reality, this is your one opportunity to really win and to change the country fundamentally. So punch him in the face. Not literally, but you know what I mean, right? You're on that debate stage, you have the perfect opportunity. I mean, he did a little of that in the last debate, and it was incredible. Like, it definitely excited me, and I'm sure it excited a lot of other people in the country. But there was Very little of that in most of the primary. But okay, so put Bernie aside for a second. When are we as progressives gonna be ruthless? Because corporate Democrats are ruthless. We know how dirty they fight. So when are we gonna stop caring about the approval or the validation of people in the mainstream?
And sorry, and Jake, when you answer that, because this is where I think I differ. I don't think it'll help. How will it help? So after saying we'll get ruthless, and maybe you too, after we get ruthless, in what ways will that activate people's brains that are somehow believing the opposite to think, oh, that's right. Once Bernie yelled more, now I like him. When they're already thinking he's a yeller.
No, they were gonna call him a yeller no matter what.
Right.
I mean, Bernie can be like, he could be the lead singer in the Whisper song and they would still call him a yeller, okay? But that's not what I mean. They are gonna come after us no matter what. And so we need to be, in my opinion, laser focused on what we want to accomplish without trying to I just think that there's too much focus on oh, what can we do to persuade these people? What can we do to, and I'm talking about corporate media, corporate Democrats, you guys get the picture. I'm not interested in them. And by the way, movements don't happen in a day, they don't happen in one election cycle. Real change in an ideological direction that we want can literally take decades. I mean, just take a lesson from the right wing. Think about how the right wing has crafted a Supreme Court that they genuinely wanted, right? That is a project that has taken a long time and they're getting there, and it's because they're organized, they're strategic, they're hyper-focused on what they want to get done, and they're ruthless toward anyone who gets in their way. And so I don't know the specific answers, but what I do know is that this particular election, Cenk, your congressional race, has made it abundantly clear to me who the enemies are. And once you determine who the enemies are, that is a powerful piece of intel to fuel the right strategy.
Thanks for watching the Young Turks, really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, Jayar. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.